There's this hidden problem lurking in pretty much every company out there. It's quietly draining resources, and it's killing good ideas. It's called a data silo. So today, we're going to break down what they are, how to spot them, and most importantly, how to tear those walls down for good.
I mean, this quote from Heap just nails it, right? Silos, great for grain, terrible for data. It perfectly captures this whole problem we're talking about today. All this valuable information being locked away, isolated, and kept from the very people who could use it most.
And hey, if you're thinking, oh, that's not us, you might want to think again. A survey by Heap found that a staggering 86% of companies admit to struggling with data silos. That means this is a near universal challenge, and it's impacting efficiency, strategy, and yeah, the bottom line.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dive into the high costs of these silos and figure out why they even happen in the first place. Then we'll walk through two huge solutions, creating a data dictionary and unifying your tech. And finally, we'll look at the amazing payoff when a company actually gets this right.
All right, let's get real for a second. What's the actual damage here? What are the tangible costs that businesses are paying when their data is all fragmented and walled off from each other?
So what is a data silo? Well, simply put, it's just a pocket of information that's totally locked away. Think about the sales team's CRM. Marketing can't touch it. Or the product team's analytics that the customer support team has never even seen. It's super useful data for one group, but it's invisible to everyone else who could also get a ton of value from it.
And the consequences? Wow, they ripple out in every single direction. It's not just about inefficiency. Just imagine your marketing team spending thousands on a campaign to re-engage users, while the product team already knows from their data that a critical bug is causing those users to leave in the first place. That's a flawed strategy born from a silo, and it just leads to wasted money, a totally broken customer view, and yeah, real friction between teams.
And that whole broken customer view thing, it's huge. A report from Claravine shows that nearly half of all marketers blame data silos for not having an accurate picture of the customer journey. I mean, how can you possibly personalize an experience when you can't see the full story? You just can't.
Okay, so if these things are so obviously bad, why on earth do 86% of companies have them? Well, it turns out they don't just pop up out of nowhere. Let's dig into the most common reasons they form.
Now, this is really interesting. Looking at the data from Heap, you'd think the top reason would be some tech problem, right? Wrong. The biggest culprit is a lack of collaboration, a people problem. Right behind that, yeah, you see tool limitations, and just the simple fact that there's no company-wide rule to share information. It's a mix of culture, process, and tech.
And yeah, when you start digging, you see these culprits everywhere. The traditional way companies are structured creates these natural divides. Then you have different teams buying their own software without ever thinking about integration, and of course, old legacy IT systems that just can't talk to the new stuff. But underneath it all, there's often this culture that resists sharing, kind of like protecting your own turf instead of working together.
But here's the good news. These walls, they can absolutely come down. And the very first, most important step, believe it or not, has nothing to do with buying fancy new software. It's about creating a common language.
This is all done with something called a data dictionary. I want you to think of this as the Rosetta Stone for your company's data. It's one single central document that is the source of truth for all your key business terms. No more arguing over what active user or churn rate really means.
And look, building one isn't some kind of dark art. It's a pretty straightforward 5-step process. The most important part is that you have to start with collaboration, because if you don't get input from all the teams, they're just not going to use it. From there, you define the terms, write down the formulas, and get feedback. But the final critical step? Getting leadership to sign off on it. That official stamp is what makes it the undisputed source of truth.
And here's what that actually looks like in practice. For a term like customer acquisition cost, or CAC, it's not enough to just have a definition. You need the exact formula, the data source, and, this part is crucial, which team owns that metric. A simple template like this just eliminates all the confusion and builds trust in the data across the board.
Okay, so once everyone's speaking the same language, then it's time to build the bridges. This is where the tech comes in, unifying all the systems that collect, store, and analyze the data so it can actually flow freely.
Now, when it comes to the tech architecture, you've got a couple of main ways to go. Some companies go with a decentralized approach, where individual teams own their own data products, which keeps them agile. Others go for a more centralized model, creating one single, unified architecture for tighter control. The right choice really depends on your company's size and structure, but the basic ideas are the same.
But you know what?
Whichever path you choose, there are 3 things that are totally non-negotiable. First, you have to integrate your systems to create that single source of truth. Second, you absolutely must establish clear governance. Think of it as the rules of the road for data security and access. And third, you need to give everyone analytics tools they can actually use, so that single source of truth doesn't just sit there collecting dust.
All right, so tearing down these silos, it's not just some technical project for the IT department. It delivers real, tangible business results that can completely change how an organization operates.
Let's check out a real-world example to see what this looks like when it's done right. A case study from Macro Global shows how they helped a UK financial institution tackle the classic challenges of siloed data and old, outdated systems.
So what was the big win? The headline result? By automating and integrating all their different data sources, the organization cut the time and labor they needed for critical regulatory reporting by about 30%. That is a massive gain in efficiency. But it was about way more than just being faster. For the very first time, they had a single, trustworthy view of their customer accounts. This led to better data quality, stronger governance to help them spot risks early, and a solid foundation that made them way more prepared for the future. It's really all about building confidence in your data.
So that leaves us with one final thought for you to take away. When you look at how information moves or, fails to move inside your own organization, what do you see? Are your teams busy building bridges, or are they unintentionally building walls? Thanks for tuning into this explainer.